Hello everyone. This upload is primarily a summary of two books written by Meier, who has extensive evidence of contact with humans from the Pleiadian constellation. These ETs have detailed knowledge of our planet's history since before we misplaced the missing link. The philosophies he relays are worthy of examination, no matter what their source. Now, the summary. This is a summary of two books written by Edward Meier. Meier claims that these books are word for word transcripts of conversation between himself and human-like beings from a planet that orbits a star in the Pleiadians constellation. They also claim that they actually live on this planet in the distant future. They have come here now because they feel that the time is right to start a small seed of awareness. Awareness of the interstellar situation and Earth, condition relative to what is normal and right. The transcripts presented in the first two books cover the first 55 of his 115 meetings with these beings. The summary was prepared for the edification of my friends and colleagues. Summarizing the books, the two 400-page books that document the conversation between the extraterrestrials and Meier were transliterated from the original German conversation. Transliterated refers to the process of directly translating word for word without reconstruction, phrase or expression in order to adhere to the second language rules and usage. The usual type of translation was attempted with three different translators, but each effort contained too many interpretations that reflected the religious or philosophical inclination of the translator. As a result, the usual type of translation was abandoned and the transliteration was printed. This makes the actual text of these books often difficult to understand. Therefore, the summarization technique of this booklet has been acquired the most significant Pleiadian statements and present them in a logical order, and paraphrasing is clearly identified as such and kept to an absolute minimum. Keep an eye out for quotation marks that are not preceded identification. They indicate the beginning of Pleiadian statement, all of which are transliteration. If you have trouble understanding a statement, check to see if it is in quote, indicating Pleiadian statement. If it is, then you must accept that complete unambiguous understanding may not be possible. Proving the experience. The Pleiadians have been able to assist Edward Meier with many forms of proof of their contact with him. The different types of proof are as follows. 1. Three metal samples that according to American metallurgists are not producible by earthly science. I have the result of the metallurgist test. They take up the 9 pages. The most interesting observation are as follows. A. Strange, very uniform grain pattern with a layer of horizontal grains sandwiched between layers of vertical grain again sandwiched between that and other horizontal grain in a tight 90-degree lattice work. B. Association of non-metallic crystal of strange structure and extremely highly conductivity for the elements. C. An end-to-end formation of bond pattern on the crystal structure and the spiral assembly or stacking of the crystals in the non-metallic substance. 2. The clearest photograph ever recorded of flying discs without visible wings or engine. An American UFO investigations group spent 60,000 on outside independent computer analysis of three photos and found no evidence of tampering. 3. Movie footage of a disc flying around the top of a tall tree. The top branch moved with the wind due to the passage of the ship while the lower branch remained calm. The area within 70 of either side of the 100 tall tree could be seen and was clear of any machine that could drag a concentrated blast of air anywhere near the tree. Any machine that could produce a pulse of forced air demonstrated on the film from 70 feet would have to be tremendous indeed. 4. 40 people in Meier village in conservative Switzerland have come forward and verified the presence of flying discs in skies in their area. 5. During a flight in a Pleiadian ship, Meier documented observation of geological and physical features under the cloud layers of Venus. These have never been seen by any telescope due to perpetual clouds. His documentation was later verified by an American space probe that penetrated the cloud layers. Why we didn't hear about it among the active opponents to the belief in the existence of older, more advanced civilizations are the fundamental creationalists. This is a large group of people who have a large investment in what Meier claims to be pure nonsense. Therefore, it is actually the normal course of events. In encounter reporting that someone finds something that is supposedly damaging, someone claimed to have found a small model of a Pleiadian ship on Meier's farm. This is what apparently happened. Meier from the time to time had some of his photos analyzed by computer. The analysis reported that the object in the picture were ended 7-meter wide craft suspended over valleys, forests and mountains without any wire or supporting device present. This makes a very convincing proof since such a large object is literally impossible to photograph in a still condition when it is suspended over a significant height unless it has the ability to hover. However, Meier knew that the computer people could have learned of the craft's size from news releases made by his friends. Therefore, he had a couple of models made and used them to make fake photographs to see if the computer could really distinguish them from the real photograph. The computer analysis easily found the fake photo, discreting accurate because a member of Meier's group of friends was actually a plant who was looking for an opportunity to discredit him. This friend took the photos of the model and told the news media that he had seen the model that was used for the make all the photos. The news media never asked Meier for his other photos or the computer analysis result, but simply ran with the story. If you consider a news organization's concern for its own credibility, you will realize that they are more interested in disproving an ET contact than they are in supporting one. Consider the case of the crop circle in England in an attempt to win money offered for an explanation. Two old men claimed to have made the crop circle using string and cardboard. The news organizations quickly claimed that they had the explanation for the circle and thus made themselves appear very clever. A few days later, the men confessed to their hoax. Almost a year later, Time magazine ran their year in review where they once again reported that the crop circles were made by two of men with cardboard. In Meier's case, the news organizations ran the story of the supposedly found model. Meier's non-aggressive and anti-materialistic nature combined during this situation, and other of proving to spirit of his knowledge, but mostly because of the model he has, he was conveniently labeled a fraud and vanished into obscurity. Modern computer analysis can determine the distance of an object from the camera if the photographer has another object of known distance in the field of view. Many of Meier's photos qualified for this analysis. The analyzed photo proved that the shapes in his photo were 25 feet in diameter. Despite the success of the debunking campaign, Meier's opponents were still not confident and attempted 17 assassinations, all failed due to warning from the Pleiadians, who are reportedly extremely psychic and who helped Meier increase his psychic sensitivity. Why not go public? The following quote from the Pleiadian list a surprising number of reasons why their High Council forbids them to publicly reveal themselves. 1. Evidence then is only valid if founded of knowledge and recognition, which means only hard spiritual work enables real reasoning, but never only seen. By this I believe that the Pleiadians are saying that the only way we will be able to obtain significant knowledge is to develop our spiritual skills, not by searching for physical evidence. The Pleiadians clearly want their contact with Earth above all other effects to generate spiritual growth. 2. It is neither or our nor your Meier's mission to remove from doctors and criticizers their spirit, obstructing activities. As we all know, you cannot force people to evolve mentally or spirituality. They must want in themselves. 3. Or swap over. Within a short time, the world developed by the truth as such is not of use for our mission. Only small groups are suited, and by them the truth will slowly spread over generations and centuries to all of mankind. You ones are affecting only the basic preparation work. Keep in mind that Pleiadians live 1,000 years and have a hard time understanding or rush for the truth. 4. The presence of Aquarius demands thinking and spiritual evolution of the humans of Earth. This cannot be achieved by seeing and listening with the physical organs, but only by reasoned thought. If we operate officially in our beamship and spacecraft, the effect of deliberation and of thought will suffer because the Earth human in his present state of evolution does no longer deliberate and search that which he can see with his own eyes and hear with his ears. Beyond the seeing and hearing, the interest is short-lived because that soon become a natural event to him, and he no longer cares what he knows, no more interests him. His interest is only aroused by secrets for which he can hunt. 5. From Asket, an extraterrestrial that works with the Pleiadian but is not from the Pleiades. As a final observation in Earth, 10 we are fortunate developed forms of life and no longer able to move in such level of mind as Earth beings. This is not pretentious on our part, but a law of creation. It is the same with all forms of life. Also with Earth humans. They as well are no longer able to move within level lower to them. Thus, they are not able to move in levels of these creatures who in Earth judgment are insane, but who in truth are only underdeveloped for the adjust to all tasks in the existing laws of creation. Each will create in cooperation with the universe from the time to time, each according to level of evolution. One or more creatures of advanced developed through whom necessary fact may be transmitted. These higher developed creatures have been called prophets on earth, who unfortunately in their time were almost without exception persecuted and pursued, which condition still has no change. This has been borne out by Meier's persecution. And because there is no necessity or intention to make ourselves further known to all. Meier the man. Meier's history. Meier spent most of his life being prepared by the Pleiadians for the order that would result from being their spokesperson. He was born in 1937. The Pleiadians showed him one of their large ships, at least 2 to 3 football fields in diameter. When he was 5 years old, they soon started telepathic communication of advice and guidance. At 6, he was taken from a short ride in a ship, during which very little conversation was exchanged. At age 8, the telepathic message informed him that he was to be prepared for an important mission. If he was willing soon, he was taken for a 4-hour ride, during which he was told that the telepathic instruction had educated and evolved him to the intelligence and spiritual awareness of a 35 years old man. During that ride, he was told many things and also had an instrument placed on his head, about which he explained, and suddenly I realized great things inside of me. Inside of me, a great knowledge, recognition of many kind of old and new things. The Pleiadian informed him that the machine had awakened abilities that he had been developed inside of Meier at an earlier time. Consider that it must be very difficult for Pleiadians who have spiritually evolved far beyond us to communicate, which beings such as us we are motivated by things that they must view with disdain. They have educated Maya to think and relate to them like no earth human is likely to. It is interesting to note that Maya didn't attend school very often and didn't even start high school, although he speaks a number of languages, including English. Meyer's travel under Pleiadian guidance. Meyer embarked on extensive earthbound travel designed to toughen him for the ordeal that lay ahead. He was led through many adversities in Africa and across the Indian Ocean to India, where he made his living as a snake catcher, a beggar, and an ascetic. In India, he made his way to an ashram north of Delhi, where he studied and meditated. There, an extraterrestrial named Asket, not Pleiadian but working with them, contacted him many times. He photographed her ship on a number of occasions, sometimes in front of hundreds of witnesses. And also, I have another files about Bill Myers. Bill Meyer asking the Asket and Pleiadian, why you choose me and why you meeting with me? And they say to him, because you are in the beginning times, we have a bloodline. The Maya descending from the Pleiadian race. He has Pleiadian bloodline with them. I read it on the another files. What to believe? Truth, this writing in will I will occasionally summarize what the Pleiadians said without continuously stating. Meier said that they said this might make it appear that I believe everything that the extraterrestrials say is the truth. That is not correct, I believe. It is reasonable to doubt some of the Pleiadian statement because of the following. 1. It seems that they want us to advance our spiritual awareness, yet they actively withhold information from Meier. They also give Meier information which he is not allowed to pass on to anyone else. If this information was released, many lives could have been saved, but it was still withheld. They have also expressed dread concerning our attainment of space flight and the result dissemination of our materialism and religious belief to unsuspecting civilization. 2. I believe that they are still trying to influence us and consider us to be so far beneath themselves that we may not deserve the truth or that we may not be ready for the truth. When I try to determine the truth as I read their words, I follow my own feelings and sometimes compare what they say to things I have learned it elsewhere. I would recommend that you keep in mind the above information as you try to determine the truth in what the Pleiadians are telling us. If you do buy the books that contain the conversation, keep in mind that they are difficult to understand and that the many apparent contradictions you may first find will tend to disappear after careful study. One thing I do believe is that Edward Meyer is telling us the truth as he knows it and that he is reporting his conversation accurately after reading about his lifestyle, extremely anti-materialistic, will-traveled, self-educated family man, relentlessly wounded by curiosity seekers but slow to anger. I find it very hard to believe that he would continue in a fraud, especially since he had been persecuted, arrested, abused, and nearly destroyed in every imaginable manner. What they said about themselves, their history, there is an ancient civilization that has space travel for 230,000 years. Their original plan is actually in direction of the Orion constellation. They colonized three planets in the Pleiadians constellation about 1500 years after achieving space travel. Simj's Meier's main contact is from one of these planets called Era, which is 500 light years from Earth. They are part of union of planets that comprise 50 billion souls. Each planet is like one of our countries and has an executive institution which accept advice from the High Council, which resides on a special planet and consists of beings that are cross-dimensional, spirit material. About Era population, 400 million humans. There is peace and security, but no money. If you need something, you just go to the place that has it, and it is given to you. This trip is rarely necessary since every household is self-sufficient. The latest educated person had 70 years of schooling. The expected lifespan is 1000 to 1200 Earth years, which is normal for humans who are not exposed to sun such as we are. Who they are, the Pleiadians claim to be the highest evolved creatures that travel to Earth and are 1304 years more evolved than the next highest human that visit Earth. They also claim that they are our forefathers. They evolved many thousands of years before us because their solar system is much older than ours. In the distant past, they visited Earth frequently and were known to the majority of the Earth population as heavenly sons. There was regular communication and even trade. Throughout Earth history, the Pleiadians started a number of their own civilizations on Earth, but they all failed. They left Earth because of the effect of the Great Flood, which greatly reduced their lifespan. About human, the human life form is a form that often evolves on planets that can support life. Although there are many different types of intelligence life form. Some of these life forms are extremely different from human. Some are closer planet forms than animal. The Great Voyage. At one point, Meier was told to prepare to be away from home for a couple of days. He was then flown to a great spacer and started on a tremendous voyage that began with a visit to the Pleiadian homeworld. After the short hyperspace jump, Meier was left with an impression of a very pleasant experience. After flying around Era and returning to the great spacer, Meier prepared to make the great voyage. The Pleiadian instructed him to sit at a machine that would record his thought. This was done so he would not have to remember his impression during the next jump, which was to be 7 minutes in hyperspace. The distance of such a jump is beyond conception. The Pleiadian said they had jumped at a distance of 960 x 10 to be 33rd power light years. One light year is more than 1.5 billion miles. At the present time, our instruments in orbit have only been able to detect galaxies 14x10 to the 9th light years away. This jump was to the edge of the galaxy, that is the furthest from the center of the concentration of galaxies. In our universe, Meier and the Pleiadian went to the edge of this galaxy because it is the location of portal to another universe. The Pleiadians had business with humans from this other universe. Hyperspace, the 7 minute jump, made Meier and the other human on the great spacer so sad that there was a few minutes of hugging and consulting immediately after the jump. This sadness is due to the fact that the feelings that one has during hyperspace are so overwhelmingly wonderful that leaving hyperspace is experienced as a tremendous loss. Meier's record of his thought as he looks out of the ship at the heavens during this long jump are as follows: how fantastic heavens and stars change. In a fraction of a second, they are nothing more than whitish, milky mass. Then there is darkness. Suddenly all is merging into the golden color and now everything is like silver. By my dear, this glistening light, this beaming, shining splendor. Dear, this must be eternity, the glistening light of eternal. But see, there is nothing beside this eternity, man alive. How marvelous man alive. That is itself marvelous. Eternity and marvelousness are one and the same, only why do I separate it? Why do I put the eternity into terms of time? Time does not exist, and eternity is marvelous man. Just what is this? This tranquility, this peace, what is it? How could I have achieved this? Love on that deep, all encompassing love. Nothing is there but love, wonderful, marvelous. Oh yes. I am, but I am not. Everything is so deep and full of love. Of course, I am eternity and I am inside the eternity. How could I ever forget this? Yes, I am a human being. How can I? Why do I forget that? I am only a guest in eternity and these loving voices calling for me from where is it coming? Who's calling me? I see nothing. Man alive, I am nothing anymore. I cannot see myself. I am eternity in eternity. After the jump, Simje said, we have all been inside the timelessness and would all like to say stay there, but we are not ready to stay because we have to absolve the way of evolution step to step, as we also must do. Dear friend, I know quite well how painfully your heart aches. Now, as well, I have experienced the same thing. Other extraterrestrials. The Pleiadian report that over 100 races of aliens have visited Earth. There are also 7 races that maintain base on Earth. One of these bases is located on Mount Shasta, which has been the site of many UFO observations. These aliens occasionally visit the town in neighboring area and are known by their long curly golden hair. Pleiadian philosophy, their philosophy is full of spiritualism and recognize that science cannot be fully understood if separated from spirit. They believe in a force that they call creation. Every living thing has a part of this creation within it, and it is what unsolves them, and it never dies. In the case of animals and humans, it returns again and again to the same planet. In the case of humans, it evolves spiritually up until the last perfection. Matter and energy. The universe consists of matter or energy. Both terms, energy and matter, represent basically one and the same but precisely in their separate forms. Fine material and coarse material. Coarse material is matter, fine material is energy. Matter is the embodiment of idea. As energy, the matter is fine. Material and the matter just highly concentrated and condensed. One can generate both kind by apparatus, which you already do in different ways. Normally, they are generated quite naturally. That is why spiritual force, which is proceeded by idea. The basic source for this is the creation of vast spiritual reservoir, a factor which again embodies the original energy. From it rises idea, the force of spirit then, which and who again embodies energy, condenses and concentrates the idea of fine material energy, which then by still higher concentration becomes coarse material or matter. To clarify this statement, Meier asked this in fact the whole universe is inside and out only of fine material and coarse material energy, which is compressed and concentrated idea. Sim's reply was certainly. Universes and creation wonders open, wonders are hidden within the kingdom of spirit, the visible universe which the human being occupies himself consciously is only a small spot within the marvelous unlimited spiritual existence creation. Universes like this one are in the innumerable millions within the infinite spiritual existence of the creation. What is visible to the physical eyes of a human being represents only a dot in infinity. What is not visible to man's eyes is immeasurable, inconceivable, and unthinkable. Confusing his human intelligence and capacity, all the universe he sees is only a simple one of many such which must be counted in myriad because there do exist universes inside of universes, universes opposite universes, universes above universes, universes below universes, and universes outside of universes. In this first cause, mighty all powerful intelligence existing within the creation and with this immense spirit, with these original forces of the existence of creation. The spiritual intelligence of the human being is connected because a fraction of the spiritual intelligence of the creation lies in every human being as spirit and unsouls him. Common and spiritual human. Milliards of human beings look up at the stars in the heaven without real cognition. Yet astronomers, when they look up at the heavens, discover whole new worlds and write books about them. What they see and recognize, the others do not see at all, and they do understand even if they look at in the same place. Out of their eyes, see they are blind. This is similar to the difference in viewpoint between a common and a spiritual human being. The one who lies from spiritual and creational laws sees and recognizes all around within each form of life, all object, each thought and act within each creature, within all nature, and also in all conceivable circumstances and event the creation. The human being is always spiritually great and constructive. The spirit, the spring of all the infinite creational build-up is the innermost character of the human beings, except the outer human being is full of limitation, because this is not him, but only his frame, his material body of limitation, of mislending matter, of front of labor and pain, limited in cognition and will. When the other being looks materially at his inner being, he sees little but the form and figure, yet if he looks with the spiritual eyes of cognition, and he knows that these are revealing consciousness in him is also in all other, even thought. They do not know it. Then his manner changes fundamentally as he considers his fellow creator. He then no longer simply looks at a man, a woman, or a child, but sees the other as a carrier of spirit, which knows all about itself and its existence, and wants to reveal itself to everyone. If only the chance were offered, a human being can be deprived of all possessions and exiled from his homeland, but from his inner spirit no one can exile him. So, the human beings should always be conscious of this creational part, without which he could not take one breath, could not generate one thought, without which he could neither recognize or see, hear or experience. Thus the great wise ones all of time say, the creation spirit is nearer the creator than his own breath. The spirit can live without the light of physical eyes, ears, arms, legs, even without other reason and consciousness. But always there is the creational force behind all. The more light his spiritual intellect receives, the more his personality gains force. He becomes aware of this past and the future which shape his eternal present. The whole spiritual realm is visible to those who can look inside and understand the creation present in all. The human being is separated one from another in space, but connected to all in the creation. If he does not know the creation, he can be misled and deceived by false doctrine. Of human being in contact with his creation realize himself everywhere in space and time and within all matter. He is everything within himself and can awaken to the creational in everything and affect it in recognition and experience. Human spiritual evolution. Reincarnation. Humans evolve through 7 main periods. Each of the 7 main periods are divided up to into 7 sub-periods. Earth humans are now between period 2 and 3 depending on their spiritual advancement. I will sum up each of the 7 periods by listing the more descriptive sub-period in each. I suspect that Simges has had her work cut out for her to attempt to translate highly advanced spiritual concepts from their language to German. I would imagine that their language has developed along with a very high regard for spiritual matters, and therefore has many words that do not have any counterpart in German. This is all a direct quote from Gymnase. 1. Primary life. Primary development of intellect and spirit. Humans of this level are considered insane or idiot, but they are merely new spirits who have to first form themselves. Insanity can also be caused by damaged bodies, and the confusion that result can affect the spirit for future lifetimes. 2. Reasoned life. Primary development of reason. Primary acknowledgement of higher influences. Belief in higher influences without having the knowledge. Belief in higher forces, superstition, fear of evil. Veneration of God. Germinating time for religions. Primary cognition of the true reality. Research, knowledgeable, development, first spiritual. Cognition and their exercise. Spiritual healing, telepathy, present position of the average earth human. Primary development of knowledge and wisdom. 3. Intellect life. Advanced development of intellect, high technology, second utilization of spiritual forces, primary creation of living forms, realization and exercise of knowledge, truth and wisdom, slow breakdown of accepted belief. A few years spiritual scientists are at this level, they say. Acknowledgement and utilization of nature's law, generation of super technology, second creation of living forms, natural exercise of wisdom and knowledge in the cognition of spiritual forces. 4. Real life. Clear knowledge about reality as absolutely real. Utilization of spiritual knowledge and spiritual wisdom. Cognition of the reality of the creation and its law. Living according to creational law, purification of spirit and intellect, creation of first living creature. 5. Creational life, creating and controlling of life forms, construction of mechanical organic living things, spiritual development of forces for control of material and organic forms of life, will conditioned mastery of life in all its forms and sorts, reminiscences of earlier lifetime. 6. Spiritual life, acknowledgement and realization of spiritual peace, universal love, and creational harmony, living according to pure spiritual knowledge, spiritual creating and creation, disembodying of spirit from organic matter. First pure spiritual existence, final spiritual existence, passing over into creational consciousness. 7. Creational life, twilight sleeping during 7 period of rest. This is a tremendous period of time of 2100 trillion years, during which the whole universe, although apparently not others, ceases to exist. During the twilight sleep, there is neither time nor space. All lies inside the infinite bosom of creation and null time. After his awakening, it begins to create all things anew, creating of living forms, creating a new spirit in improvement of the creation. Final development. When discussing longevity with Meier, Simjes said a human may become some thousand or even hundreds of thousands years old when he reaches a certain level of spiritual development and evolution, but beyond this state, the spirit no longer needs a material body. He then does live in pure spirit and within such high spheres that one can no longer communicate with him from this level. Details of Pleiadian Earth history. The following timeline was created by author to assist in following the chain of events as described in the text of this section. The dates around 200,000 are approximate. Timeline. 230,000 BC, a comet almost destroyed the Pleiadians' original home planet and sent a large piece of another planet towards our solar system. 229,100 BC, Heaven's sons start to build their interstellar empire. Earth eventually came under their control. 228,600 BC, the empire is thrown into war. Azael escaped with 360,000 humans and settles in the Pleiadians. 228,200 BC, Pleiadians start to explore the galaxy, get involved with Earth again. Its own civilization lasts some thousands of years but destroyed itself. 50,000 BC, war on the Pleiadians. 70,000 Pleiadians flee to Earth under Pelagion. 10,000 years civilization. A deadly war ends it and all Pleiadians flee. 330,000 BC, descendants of the Pelagion era who settled on far distant planet returned to Earth, built Atlantis and moved. 20,000 years peace. 13,000 BC, war many but not all flee. Some the outsent ones flee to the nearby planet, not in Pleiadians. 11,000 BC, the outsent ones return to Earth, attack the destroyed Atlantis, many Pleiadians return home. 8,104 BC, the great flood to ascend ones are still in control of Earth, but now take up behind the scenes role. Arus dies, Jeho takes over. 160 BC, Jeho dies, Kamagol, Aiden Kamagol II, Little Ascent Ones, now known as the Thule Society or the Giza Intelligence. Pleiadian Space Empire 229,100 BC. 900 years after the comet almost destroyed their original home planet, the inhabitants of that planet started building giant spaceships with hyperspace ability and started to explore many solar systems. They called themselves Heavenly Sons. I will use this term to distinguish them from the current Pleiadians, who are actually their dependent. The author say like this. Where Heaven's Sons found civilization, they conquered them in one-sided battle using nuclear bomb. The inhabitants became subject of Heaven's Sons but on Mars planet. Their rule was never completely accepted. Simges indicated that Earth was one of these originally conquered planets. About this planet, she said, Heaven became tired of the godly scientists. The oppressed people rose up against them, at first by silent revolution, oppressed by the spiritual forces and the greater knowledge of Heaven's sons. The nation were forced to bow in subjugation to their ruler, but their will for freedom inspired them to prepare secretly for a battle. Simjes further indicated that Heaven's Son have a history of placing themselves in a position as God and requiring something like worship. The empire breaks. When the war started, they split the many planets and some were destroyed. Apparently, the earth was abandoned sometime during these wars. A scientist named Azel took this chance to make himself independent and to flee secretly. He succeeded in taking possession of a large fleet and fled under heavy war activity. They flew for many years through space until one day they encountered a sun system in the Pleiadians, which offered life-developing possibilities. For them, far from their home system, they settled there and there 300 years passed before they started to explore the universe again. Earth revisited this explorer, now from the Pleiades, eventually returned to Earth. Long after the Heaven's Son from the original empire had left, they established a second civilization on Earth, but struggle for control broke out again, and once more they left Earth. Over the next millennia, during this tremendous time span, Earth was continuously watched and controlled to some extent through expedition from the Pleiades. Throughout these long years, the Pleiadians, as well as other extraterrestrials, occasionally attempted to settle Earth. Some Earth alien civilizations grew large, but with growth there was always an increasing struggle for power and wars would break out, and the advanced aliens with their space travel would flee to their home worlds. Behind they would leave the less intelligent aborigines, who would eventually resort back into savagery. However, there appears to be one exception. Earth's own civilization. Simges is not clear on this, but it seems that an Earth human race developed a culture of its own during this time. This civilization existed some thousands of years but was eventually destroyed due to usual thirst for power. 50,000 BC. War on the Pleiadians. During this time a war broke out in the Pleiadians, and some 70,000 Pleiadians fled to Earth where they settled. Their leader was named Pelagon. 10,000 years civilization. Pelagon maintained tight control through these nearly 200 sub-rulers. This civilization lasted 10,000 years and extended into all the earthly continent. Eventually, struggle for power caused a deadly war to rage all over Earth without exception. All was destroyed and only a few thousand humans survived on Earth, while others fled in spaceships, some of which settled distant worlds. The next civilization, 33,000 to 13,000 BC, for 7,000 years no Pleiadian returned to Earth, and the aboriginal humans left behind became completely wild. Around 33,000 BC, descendant of the Pelagon era, who settled on distant or returned. Other books I have read indicate that this is about the same period according to archaeological findings, that the first sign of Cro-Magnon man or modern man suddenly emerged. They built on Atlantis and Mu and created great cities. For 20,000 years, they lived in friendship and peace. Around 13,000 BC, a few scientists became overcome by the old thirst for power and right to seize the government. Once again, many Pleiadians fled, but this time to a neighboring solar system and were. From then on, now as the outstand ones on Earth, the civilization continued to some extent. Even in a 2,000-year exile, the outsent ones that fled the last great Earth civilization might have done better by remaining on Earth on their new planet. They fell under an evil order, the strict control by mutation and their sciences. They extended their lifespans. The sun, thousands of years, one can only imagine the fear of assassination and rebellion that their leaders must have lived under. I believe as a result, the leaders became obsessed with obedience and control of their subject, and that his minds remain with them today. By the year 11,000 BC, their thirst for power led them back to Earth. Negative Earth, all the attempt to establish a civilization on Earth had ended in bloody war. Therefore, the Pleiadians began to believe that there is a negative force that surrounds Earth. When they had evolved to the point where they could detect such forces, they became convinced that this was true. The outset ones returned. The destruction of Atlantis opened their return in 11,000 BC. The outset ones settled in the high north and in the area of Florida, from where they continuously attacked Atlantis and Mu, eventually destroying them. Many people from the defeated area moved to the Pleiadians. Those that did not escape were forced into servitude. Even after the victory, their leader Arus, the barbarian, led a severe and bloody regime. Arus had a group of sub-leaders who, against Arus' orders, white Earth Aboriginal woman and mutation were distant descendants of former humans from cosmic space, and mated with them. This combined with genetic engineering resulted in the creation of new races and species. Bigfoot Yeti, one of the gigantic creatures that was the result of this breeding spree, is still alive today because of the longevity knowledge that these evil people learned during their exile. Simges claims that the Yeti have a lifespan of 15,000 years and that there are 7 living in the world today, but in very remote location. She also reported that we did indeed record movie file on authentic female. I believe I saw this film as a short before the main feature. In a movie theater sometimes during the 1960s, the documentary shows some short footage of female standing up and running, trotting away. This is also how Simjes described the film. If you saw the footage, then you have seen a true Bigfoot. Modern white man, the highest sub-leader under Aris, found about female Eve, Earth Aboriginal, and mated with her. The resultant male offspring was of pleasing form. He was called Adam. A second child was born, this time a female. In later years they were mated to each other. This was the start of our Caucasian race. White Indian, Jew, when Aris found out about this interbreeding, he was furious because he originally forbade it. Although he killed many of his sub-leaders, Aris took into his control 3 races of human who emerged from this breeding: Caucasians, Indian, I assume in the Asian, and Jews. He placed himself above them and allowed himself to be venerated and adored. He imposed harsh and severe laws and demanded blood when there was an disobedience. His ruthless demand for complete control, and obedience was the result of the fear of assassination and war that the society had lived under for centuries. There was no diverse shame or manipulation they would not use to keep control over Earth population, even tough at the time we were still extremely backward. Currently, our peaceful development and increased spiritual awareness pose very real threat to them. The control continues. During the research for his book Gods of Eden, and historian William Bramley set out to find a third-party activity or group that may have been contributing to the excessive high occurrence of wars on our planet. What he found made him so discouraged that on a number of occasions he stopped writing his book. He felt that no one would believe him. However, the evidence was too convincing. His book is 600 pages and he claims that is the only the tip of the iceberg, and he returned to his writing. Bramley found evidence of the influence of the outside ones in many government and civic organizations, and suddenly the government reaction to UFOs starts to make sense. Bramley gives the outside ones a functional name, the custodial society or custodial forces. As the name implies, Bramley proposes that they consider the earth their possession and that they create Machiavellian, divine, and control undercover activities and establishment to ensure that they will keep their silent control over it. Reduced extraterrestrial population. At some point in time, the descendants of the outside ones became secluded, moved underground, and only interacted with Earth human behind the scenes. I assume that this happened at the time of the Great Flood, 8000 BC, and was mostly due to the danger of exposing themselves to our unprotected sun. Arut's son Jehovah. Jehovah took over command from his father, but he was an even worse ruler, demanding blood and death from the earth races. For any disobedience, Simjes called Jehovah the unjust and cruel one, and agrees with Meier that by his order to allowed to the bestial slaughter of many earth humans, and that the demanding unhesitatingly innocent human blood, and coerced innumerable human beings toward damage. I understand this is to mean spiritual damage. His motivation was a desire to subject to Earth's creator. My understanding is that he desired to feel the power that comes from having people regard him as great and powerful and following his direction on a large scale. The method he used to accomplish this was to cause confusion and then fear. Fear of retribution if his way was not followed. Jehovah died only 2160 years ago. Do not forget these descendants of the outside ones had mastered longevity and protected themselves from our sun's damage. But his followers keep his tradition and according to the Pleiadians are active today. Jehovah's successor, Kamagol I. Kamagol I was put down by his own son Kamagol II, who rules today. His group is known by many names, among them the Tool Society and Giza Intelligence. It seems like paranoia, but Simjes claimed that a large number of these descendants of the outside ones are still active today. They are considered by the Pleiadians to be evil and the cause of many atrocities which have resulted in the loss of millions of humans during our history. The Giza inspire these aggressions posited to split their control, divide and control. The Pleiadians wish very much to remove the Giza, but unfortunately their bases are underground and the Giza have been able to screen themselves and their activities from Pleiadian detection. The Tool Society first operated openly in pre-Hitler Germany and helped put Hitler in power. Nazi doctrine clearly stated that it was their goal to prepare the world to be ruled by E.T. Superman, who lived underground and were the creators of the Aryan race. More can be learned about the Truth Society and other Brotherhood activities in William Bradley's book, The Gods of Eden. Insurance evidence of extraterrestrial contact is constantly being lost or stolen. The origination that the Gizeh have promoted are full of well-meaning people who are most likely responsible for this destruction of evidence. It is clear that the Gizeh have much to lose if the idea of extraterrestrial activity becomes widely accepted. If the Gizeh to exist, then they would have been working hard to convince us that belief in their existence is foolishness. Is there a way to detect this effort? Perhaps there is. If Meier's evidence proves that a benevolent extraterrestrial group does exist, why do we scoff at the thought of a self-serving extraterrestrial group? Is it not actually more believable? Nevertheless, we resist believing in either of this group in an unusually strong way. Why? Have we been the victims of the ultimate manipulators of all time? How can we tell if they have influenced us? Perhaps this is a way to examine our own reactions. Do we react quickly and strongly on an emotional level to stories of UFO and extraterrestrial when our usual method of judgment is careful reasoning and examination of the reported facts? Some good news. Ashtar Sharan. Many people have heard this name in regards to channeling. He often established telepathic contact with channel type Earth humans. In actually, he is the cousin of Kamagol too. His main mission had been to unconsciously lead different group of human beings of Aryan descent in Germany, America, Argentina, and Brazil on a certain course that would assist the plan of Kamagol too. Fortunately, Ashtashian has had a change of heart according to Quetzal, a Pleiadian who reported the following to Meier. I sympathize with the reader regarding the writing style, but this is an actual quote, and you must decide what this Pleiadian means. But in the course of time, Ashtar Sharan achieved many cognition and changed his behavior, whereas hitherto he only acted according to the plan of Kamagol II. He now unnoticeably changed his tactic and influenced his first line of hosts, descendants of the Ancient Ones, which he needed step by step. He obtained their confidence and they acknowledged him as their actual leader. So it was easy for him to join step by step into the obtained recognitions of the truth and also to deal with them with the knowledge of his host. In his agreement, they separated from the command of Kamagol II and transmit his messages to different earth human beings, but because he is still not fully conscious of the truth, contradictions arise which must be taken into account nevertheless. His messages are mainly of very true matters and give enjoyment for reason of security for his host and himself. He gives unclear and not entirely correct information in certain concerns, which is excusable. So as well, the information from him about where he stays is not correct, but still does not injure his archivit. Love for the truth, it is for this security for him and his people, that they do not extend themselves into conflict with the host of Kamagol to despite all of our abilities. We have not found out his place of stay. Evidently, he and his people have received by some circumstances very advanced knowledge of security means, which they exercise and which may with all our possibilities. We are not able to explore, but this is not important because such events happen often. Then single groups separate themselves from tyranny and search for the way of truth. So Ashtar Sharan may stay with his people in a distant star system or even in another dimension where they are absolutely safe from Kamago's reach. Nevertheless, they are able to come for their task because their spiritual and technical capabilities are able to overcome all distance in space and time.